For more than a year, journalists in India have risked their lives against an invisible threat to capture the impact of COVID-19 on the world's second largest population. And few places have been hit as hard as India. More than 275,000 people have died from the virus, including at least 238 journalists. That includes Nadeem Ahmed, who was the president of the Amroha Press Club in the state of Uttar Pradesh. His brother MUNTAZIM told Al Jazeera he died the same way as many others during the second surge, outside a hospital without help.
There was one hospital left and we did everything we could. Reporters called the district magistrate. We called several government officials. After trying a lot, our hands were still empty. We were told there were no beds and don't even hope for a ventilator.
Despite news media being deemed an essential service in India during the pandemic, the government hasn't prioritized vaccinations for journalists. As the second wave gripped the country over the past 2 months, many states declared journalists to be frontline workers, but few have inoculated them. Journalist Mohammed IMRAN was a friend of Nadeem Ahmed's.
The government is claiming that journalists in Amroha have been declared frontline workers and would be vaccinated at the earliest. But none of that has happened because none of the journalists in Amroha have been vaccinated.
Television news reporter NIDHI SHREE in the badly affected state of Bihar says journalists there live in fear.
It's very difficult for us, very, very difficult. But someone has to report from the field. Someone has to work. Someone has to show the real pictures. So we're doing that work last year and this year too. But this time, there are many journalists in several states who have died. And looking at those deaths, we feel afraid. But if you're going by safety, it's very difficult to do the job.
Researchers say of the journalists who've died since the pandemic began last year, more than 2/3 lost their lives since the start of April this year.
Just accepting the very superficial or just the titles of something will not really solve the problems. So our effort is to get into the details of what the governments mean when they say that journalists are frontline warriors.
When it comes to deaths of journalists due to COVID-19, India is among the top 3 countries in the world, behind Brazil and Peru. More than 3 journalists have died every day from COVID-19 since the start of April this year, and it's suspected to have killed another 72 since then. Despite the vaccine shortages, journalist organizations say those risking their lives to do their jobs should be protected by the government. Elizabeth Puranam, Al Jazeera, New Delhi.